Coming to you live from sunny Arizona. The Steve Root Show is now live.
Greetings, people. You're talking to Steve Root live. Obviously, I'm not deceased. This is the actual human being talking to you. I'm on a new health kick, water, but it's not just water. It's got stuff in it that tastes good because I don't really like water. I was in the doctor's a couple of weeks ago, and he goes, "Are you drinking water?" No. He says, "Why not?" I says, "Because I don't like it. So I have to pour this powdered stuff in there to make it taste good. The only time I ever want water is if I'm in the desert and I'm dying, okay? Then I'll take it. So this is the next best thing. A lot of stuff to cover today. Before I read the announcements, I want to thank some people for sending in the weekly contest things that I set up for you guys. It's something where I do on my own, and then I send the same reference that I used out to you guys so that you can also take your shot at it. I think this is a very good thing. I encourage you all to take part in this. It's all part of the fun of it. And God knows it tells me who's really interested in learning to draw better and who's not. The same goes for painting. Now, one of the things I promised to do this week, because I mentioned it last week, obviously, is to do another pen and ink version of The Old Lady. The Old Lady came from the famous artist course as a homework assignment for people that took the course back in the 1950s. Well, we're not in the 1950s anymore. We're in the 2 billions. So I'm going to take what I've learned from those courses and apply it to this new drawing coming up here. And this is going to be another pen and ink style inking. It's not going to be necessarily brush, although we could do that maybe next week if you guys let me know strongly enough. We also got some new submissions for the Old Lady inking contest that we did last week. I'm going to show them to you now. Jason Gonzalez produced this thing right here. It's really good. This is the actual one that the famous artist did, and this is the one that he did, Mr. Gonzalez. So if you're impressed, you should be, because he did a marvelous job. Even did a good job in the rose up there. Think roses are easy? No. Roses are always about the, don't they always talk about wars when they bring up roses? Jeffrey Dowson, another stellar example of a guy that, these guys got to be on professional level because it's as good as anything out there right now. So they should take a lot of pride in the fact that they took a very difficult assignment and pulled it off very well. So thanks to these two guys for doing that. We're going to move that aside for right now. The other thing that I mentioned last week is to take a Sargent watercolor piece, John Singer, and duplicate it. Now I have actually prepared ahead of time and did my version of this Lady in the Couch painting, which I have examples of here that include step-by-steps. But there were two enterprising individuals that also sent in their versions of this couch painting. Now I'm going to show you the actual Sargent version on our little screen there. Okay, so you can see that now. Take a good look at that and compare them to the very ambitious but very stylized versions that these guys sent in. So the first one is why Jeffrey Dowson, same guy. So this is what he sent in. And I think you can see that on screen too, because we're just that good. Very good job. A little macabre, but you know. And then the other thing that came in is this one right here by a guy named Joey. I assume that's his first and last name. Joey. So there's the one that he sent in. I'm going to read you what it says here. This is the second watercolor painting I've done, but the first doing was done wet in wet. Definitely a whole learn as you do experience. So he did this twice, and this is the second version that he did. The challenge was to do it in watercolor, okay? And just the fact that these guys took the time off to give this a shot is enough to give them an applause. Good job, guys. Mr. Producer's even clapping for me. Now we're going to show you the version that I did. We're going to show you step by step here, okay? So this one is going to pop up on your screen as being the very first shot that I took from my drawing board here as I engaged in attempting to do this myself from a Sargent watercolor. Actually, it wasn't a watercolor. It was an oil painting that I converted into watercolor because that was a nice challenge for me because I'm really into watercolor these days. So that's the first one right there. Now we're going to get into some close-ups here. You can see the pencil work already done. So that is number 2 in the series of step-by-steps. Do you guys digest that enough here? We always give you enough time to look at it and really, really see how it's being done here. Here's number 3. Doesn't look like much, but let's see how we end up. Number 3. Door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. There is no door number 4. So, but this is the one I did. This is the 4th progress shot that I did of the Sargent oil painting that I converted into watercolor. And that was the assignment from last week. Take this Sargent painting that we supply the reference with and do it up in watercolor. Again, I can hear the thunderous applause of the people who had the great ambition and wherewithal to put together a very difficult thing in watercolor, especially trying to copy a Sargent. Here is the 5th progress shot right here. You can see things are coming along swimmingly. Actually, the funny thing is, I think I mentioned this last week, but I had, after 30 years of working with watercolor, I felt like I had a breakthrough. I was watching some stuff on YouTube, and they show these very up-close shots of some of the Sargent watercolors. And I looked at it, and something flipped a switch in my head, and I said, you know, this just doesn't look that hard. Why can't I do this after 30 years? Well, you're 30 years and 1 day later, I felt like I made a breakthrough, and it's pretty evident, I think, on this version that I did of the Sargent oil painting adapted to watercolor. You dicks, get out of there. And here is the final piece right here. I also want to mention that for you Patreon guys that keep us afloat and actually help me buy art supplies and pay for my eye surgery, I might add, these are the guys that get to see the actual filming that I did as I painted this thing. So the guys that are really into this stuff and make the ultimate sacrifice of however much money they can fork over every month is really who's going to complain about that? So there you go for that. Announcement time. Here's the announcements that I'm going to read to you as I see them. Community announcement. Community announcements. Introduce yourself if you haven't already. I'm Steve Rude. Welcome new Patreon members. We have a $5 member that just joined up. His name is Dale. Mark forked over 100 G's, or $100. Sorry, I thought he had donated 1,000 for a second there. $100 member Mark And we actually have a female in the Steve Root audience, which is cause for celebration if I've ever heard it. Her name is Cynthia Wang, and she purchased a Batman print. So an actual female has joined our ranks here. Nexus Animated. There is some progress on here. Can I talk about it? Well, I would if there was something to talk about, but nothing is cemented yet. You know how everyone comes on and says, I can't talk about it? Well, I am going to talk about it, all right? I just hate that kind of stuff. What is a lawyer going to do, sue me or something? But we have some really cool things coming up to show you with that very thing, with some stuff that we did with the animated layouts that I've done. And we're going to show that in a minute here. Dick here. Nexus returns to Earth. If you want to see all the new pages I'm working on, which I've been showing weekly here, I'm working on Return to Earth. And it's, what does it say here? $25 Patreon members can see the new scan pages weekly starting on July 1st, which is coming up pretty fast. $5 members will start seeing them weekly. So it's all about you guys that support us. Why support somebody? Well, if you saw the financial situation around here at Dude Central, you'd know why. After 6 months, you guys finally donated enough bread for me to get some art supplies. And the art supplies came to almost 3,000 spickle-spittin' freaking dollars. They're not cheap, but I'm getting everything I want. Other announcements. The animation paper I get to draw all this stuff on for my show. This stuff right here, which I'm going to be showing you in a moment here. This 3-peg paper, 12-field paper, is supplied by Lightfoot Limited Animation Supplies. And the guy who sells it is a guy named Mr. Lightfoot. Can you believe that? Lightfoot Animation Supplies by Mr. Lightfoot. True. As a thank you for your support, get 25% everything off our online store using the code THANKYOU25 during checkout. Now, I've never checked out except at a supermarket, but I'm assuming you guys know a little bit more about that than I do. Here's a stunning announcement here. I was supposed to get my right eye done with this cataract nonsense. Well, I told them, there's nothing wrong with my right eye, so cancel it. So being the assertive guy that I am, I'm going to leave my right eye the way it is. So, the left eye is healing well. Let's move that aside for right now. We don't want to forget anything. Nexus Animated. You want to see some Nexus animation stuff? Plug it. Hit it, Zubin.
Which part you want the one out of Sunday?
Let's have Sunny Honey go first.
Alright. Here she is.
That's what it's going to look like when it's obviously on the air. Frame by frame, different expressions, same head. When you guys are tired of seeing that, we'll move on to something else, but we'll show it a few more times, okay? Just to indoctrinate you to the ways of what eventually might happen that will change the world for the better, which is the Nexus Animated TV show. All right, let's move on to Nexus. This is a 3-drawing thing where he's going to blast his rays, beams, fusion powers, whatever you want to call it. So this is kind of cool. We did a little trickery with computer stuff, which I didn't do, obviously. You know I didn't do it. But we had our assistants here, one of the 200 assistants that worked for myself, Mr. Producer, and Gino Ginelli at Dude Central. So there you go. That's what it's going to look like right there. The rays are on ones. Do you guys understand what the ones are? Well, it's not something you put on a baby. Onesies, twosies are also words that apply to animation. And you're seeing it right now. Timing is everything. So now that we've shown you that, let's move on to some of the latest things I've done with my drawings for the show, because I am always doing new drawings. These are called layouts. And the first drawing looks like this right here. We don't have a screenshot of that, so we're just going to have to hold it up. So it starts there. We're going to cut to a different scene, I think, in the show, and then we're going to cut back to this shot right here. So it's only 2 drawings, and the animation is only on the ray blast. That's it. Sundra Peel heads. I've done thousands of these. I started out with 1, and now I've got billions of them of her head. I used to just do these on one shot of her in motion, or a medium shot with a body, and put her head on. And I thought, why don't I just do multiple heads so they can pick from these someday? So multiple heads turned into a lot of multiples. I must have, good Lord, I'm going to guess 40 sheets of just headshots of her. So we can. What's going to happen is that if and when I get my show, we're going to inventory the thousands of drawings that I've done so far, and put them in categorically where they belong. Nexus flying, Nexus ray blast, Nexus in the ship, Sundra Peel kicking, Sundra Peel karate chopping, Sundra Peel looking foxy, Sundra Peel coming out of the swimming pool in a bikini, exploitive stuff like that. So there's that, and there's that. This is kind of cool. This is what you call a long shot medium, or long shot of the character layout. This is a layout. And then we go to a close-up, which is right here. Oh, these are not going to stay very well in my lap here. But from here, we do another shot of her where she's lifting her head up just a little bit. And that's enough to keep her alive as she's on the screen. Now she's going to close her eyes. Now she's going to open her eyes, sort of. And then she's going to, that's halfway. That's her lid's halfway down. I thought I had a bunch more drawings in this, which are mouth drawings. I don't see any mouths in here. But this is what we put them in right here, the little Nexus exposure sheets, otherwise known as X sheets for the lazy out there. And believe me, these animation guys are lazy about spelling anything. Let's move that aside. You guys always want to know, you always seem to want to know what I'm doing with the Nexus comic. Well, we're going to show you right now. Okay, now it's time for that special moment of sparkling swap of essence. You see this drawing right here? Of course you do. Well, you can see that I've already laid out the pen stroke block in that I'm going to do. And where does this style come from? Well, if we look at these 2 guys in this big folder that I have here, which you can all see perfectly well, this is how organized the dude is. Let me show you how it's done here. So we pull this out. Flagg and Gibson, the 2 best guys on earth that did this style. There's Flagg, Montgomery Flagg, the I Want You guy. His technique is about 100 times better than God. These are some shots of Flagg doing his thing right here. He was a goofy guy, Montgomery Flagg. Here he is grandstanding here at Central Station in New York to gain publicity for himself, because he was kind of big on that. There's another thing that he did, just to give you an idea of the absolute expertise that he was capable of. Here's some bigger shots right here. That'll give you a really good idea of what I'm going to be trying here based on this wonderful style that is pretty much extinct. But what does the dude do when he sees styles that are extinct? He brings them back. And that's what I do. Let's find a Gibson here. Can you believe this? Leyendecker did this right here? I guess you can, because it's right in front of your face. Gibson. This is earlier work because he got too picky. His pen strokes got much more broad. Speaking of broads, like that. Can you see that right there? That's actually, I don't know if that's it's Orson Lowell. These are going to fall out of my hands if I don't hold it like this. I think that's an Orson Lowell. These guys were insanely good. They were so good that you just want to gag looking at it. So there's Gibson, there's Leyendecker. We already saw him. This is a wash drawing by Flag, because these guys worked in all mediums back then. And where do you think I got the idea of working in all mediums? Well, it came from these guys. Oh, that's more that's more Flag right there. When you look at this stuff enough, you start to figure out the styles of these guys, of which I've been able to do recently. So now, the moment you've all been waiting for, now we're going to be showing you the Old Lady Inking Contest drawing number 2. And so as you can see right here, if my shoulder's not in the way, I've kind of outlined where I'm going to put the tones in these pen strokes. And that's all these things are made up of, is pen strokes, like the ones I just got done showing you with the Gibson and the Orson Lowell and the Montgomery Flag, the Grandstander. We're just going to call them the Grandstander. So I'm going to dip my dick into this ink right here. This is a what is this? A 270 Gillette, and I'm going to show you different styles of the pen nibs that I have. Now, yes, last time I showed you a very simple comic book style that was done, and you can see how he modified that straight C curve into a S kind of curve, because I knew that it would be like that going around her neck. I'm going to show you 3 different pens here, pen nibs. I don't even know what this is right here. I guess Barry Smith uses them. So you get a nice, fairly uniform kind of a line out of that. And this one actually holds the ink longer than the other ones. Bless this pen nib here. The other one that we use, here we go, I'm going to get my hand in ink again. It dried. It's because of the paper I'm using here. The other nib that I'm using here, I think this is a Hunt 108. And this one gives you, by far, the most beautiful thick and thin lines. I've been in touch with a guy that works at the Hunt nib place. And why do I happen to know this guy? Because I called him up. People don't use the phone anymore. They hide behind emails and all this other rubbish. And if you're hanging around Dude Central here, as I do every day, being the dude, you'll see that I do things the old-fashioned way. My God, I actually call people up. They're almost never around. They never answer their damn phones. They on occasion will get back to me. But the guys like me, who grew up when we did, the era that we did, are so respectful, like the dude, being a gentleman, that they actually pick their damn phone up. They answer their phone. Can you believe it, people? I'm hearing a lot of no's. I can't believe it. Well, it's true. You shouldn't believe it because it's such a rarity. This is a pleasure to work with this Hunt 108. It's so versatile. We're out of ink. We're going to dip it back in. The ink that I've made very, what have I made very of? I put ammonia into it, so it's what's the word for it? Boy, I'm always forgetting the words these days. It must be that dementia, that encroaching dementia. How about if we forget what I was just about to say? So here's the 108 and the beautiful lines, especially in a head this big. You can get amazingly. This pen is keeping going too. like that Energizer rodent. I think I'm going to stick with this, this 108 here. Now the thing is, Dave, you can do different, there's different ways of doing the lines here. You can go this way and that way, as long as the value stays uniform. Like this is all a standard value. It's not, it doesn't go too dark at some place. You can also cross over, which we call cross hatching, which means, I guess, that this is just hatch, like hatching an egg. But it's up to me to know where I'm going to go with it here. The artist decides. I've been in touch with an animation legend. His name is Bob Singer, and he's 97 years old right now. I walked up to Gino recently today, and I say, you know what, Gino? I don't get it. He's a living legend, and I am positive that absolutely nobody but me ever gets in touch with this guy to learn something new. And I bet money in that. There's a little bit of cross-hatching going on there. The trick is, and it is a very disciplined kind of thing, is to keep things even, as in this kind of thing. If you do this kind of thing, you're changing the value, which is what you do if you're very versed in these things here. Let's go the other direction here. So as long as we keep the thing looking like it's all one value, you can do the back and forth thing to get what you want from Granny. I really like trying this kind of stuff right here. Other people, I don't know, some people are just really lazy. I met a guy when I was out in California at Art Center. He's one of the teachers there. I knew him from Madison, my Madison days back in Wisconsin. And I said, Eric, let's try something fun here. Here, take this pen here and show me that you can do a Charles Dana Gibson kind of a style here. And it didn't turn out too well on his part. I don't think this is turning out too well on my part either. But it is, what do they say nowadays? It is what it is, which makes a whole lot of sense, right? Granny's getting kind of dark there. These strokes feel so fun, especially when they're going on well, which this 108 simply must be applauded here, because it's doing what pen nib should do, never running out of ink when you don't want it to. Grannies always have very light eyebrows. How now, brown brow. I'd like to say I learned this overnight. Not even close, Remo. This took me, I remember doing this back in Madison, and I must have been like 24 years old. And I was thinking, boy, I'm starting to get this down. Well, you hear that a lot from artists. Artists will you'll always hear them saying, I made a breakthrough. I'm really starting to get this down now. Well, if that were true, then we'd walk in the studio the next day and feel the same way. But in fact, we have mercifully deluded ourselves so we can carry on for another day. This is my version of a rose here. I have done roses in the past, and every time I have to do one, I get out the reference and reacquaint myself with this stuff. Oh, here's the daisies. I'll try not to slop off on this stuff right here. Hound Dog, are you down there? Me and Hound Dog just got back from a trip to the desert where we almost died of heat stroke. Me before Hound Dog. And this is a very funny story right here. We go looking for ground schools and bunnies because Hound is a hound. She loves her bunnies. We never catch any bunnies. No bunnies were harmed during the making of this video right here. She's too slow, which is good. We don't want any bunnies hurt. On behalf of the dude and Flow Hard, the Hound Dog. I'm going to get to the hair in a second here. This is, I'm looking at this and thinking, well, I don't know, it needs some work. Oh, here's something I can do. If something's getting darker as the form turns, I can just redo the strokes. Stroke, stroke. Like so. And then if I want, I can continue it down here. I think that'll add some fluidity to the lines. And I can even cross hatch over that and hopefully not make it look too bad. Well, we'll see about that later on. There's two things that go on with an artist. One is when you are working on it and you think it's going well, and the next test is the next morning test. Do I have to explain that to you artists out there what that means? I don't think so. If I'm going to cross hatch here, I have to be pretty careful and get it as uniform as possible. The hair is going to be interesting right here. It's not going to be what you necessarily think it is. But I am going to show you, by God. Let's do a slight line stuff here. So obviously, the lighter the lines, the lighter the patch of the skin or whatever it is that it's going on. I tell you folks, the fun just never stops at Dude Central. You can ask Flowhard down here. She's on the floor. Oh, here's something kind of cool. This is the number 10 King Art, which, as I continue to mention here, is nothing more than a knockoff of my beloved Low Cornells, which they thoughtfully considered to stop making. The art world is really good at pissing people off. I don't think there's anyone that does it better than them. You find something you like, oh, bang. Did you know they're not making them anymore? No, I didn't know that, but it's true. Here's one way to do this hair right here. You can see I'm dipping into my thicker ink here, something that I learned from Alan Williamson. Well, actually, I didn't learn it from him. I probably just learned it on my own. Look very carefully because I'm going to be putting my hand in the ink anytime soon. This is a time-honored practice that I always make sure that I do to be as messy as possible. So here is the hair blocking, okay, of the old lady. And now, well, I can actually use the brush for this right here. Oh, this is a little too fat. This is the brush I'm using here, the number 10, has seen better days. And all that means is that we've blunted the thing down to the point where it doesn't have a sharp tip anymore. So we just used the brush, and now I'm going to come in with a pen, following the lines of the hair contours. This is, when you do this kind of stuff, you got to think about an old lady and under one of those hair dryer things. They just got their hair done, but it was very styled. They want their hair to look a certain way. Everybody wants to look good for the camera. And this is how often that I would do the hair for anybody, really. So you can see the hair kind of goes pushed up this way. And what happened to my instant strokes? Now I'm starting to wear this thing out. We definitely don't want that. And you can, since it's black, it's really a black hair, which is kind of funny because I'm sure she's gray-headed. Here we go. There's my stuff working. Oh, okay. We're gonna move it around right here, knowing full well what's gonna happen if we don't. Patreon guys, send in your money. And you will make me very happy because I have art supplies to buy here. And going 6 months without art supplies, that's despicable. So you see how I'm working there. It's okay, you know. There's a little bit of stuff I could probably reinforce, like the jowl thing going on here. There's a lot of guys that just literally do this very fine line stuff, this cross hatching stuff, and you can get it with this very versatile hunt 108. You can either get this kind of line or this kind of line. Isn't that great? I'm having so much fun. There ought to be a law. That's how much fun I'm having. Let's go up to the hat to finish that off. I'm not following it exact. I don't want to follow it exact. Hopefully you guys can see this here, and I'm not blocking it too much from your range of vision. What is it? Okay, Mr. Producer? Was that a yes or a no? I heard a grunt.
No,
Looks good. Okay.
zoom out.
Yeah, we're going to zoom in a little bit more right here, because that's just how good we are here at Dude Central, at the art studio of the Dude, where he does everything every day alone in a room and somehow is just fine with it. Cabin fever comes along every couple months, and I want to get out and do something. Me and Gino have wanted to go on a vacation for 2 years now, but we're so stuck paying the mortgage of this spickle spitting house that we haven't been able to get away yet. It makes it look like she's got roof tiles on her hair. What else does the old lady need right here? Well, this thing would ordinarily be, I guess, a darker color. Not for sure, but we decide to make it that way. The funny thing about pen and ink, this particular style, as well as traditional inking in comic books, is that when you build up a head of steam and you've done it enough times to make it part of your natural artistic arsenal, you'll find that you're able to go in there and be looser instead of tighter, because that's what happens when you practice. If it says Libby on the table, you will like it on the label. You know, there was a time when everyone knew that jingle. So here's the Dude's old lady here. Let's sign the old lady, and let's send her on her way back to the bingo place. Send to Bingo Hall. Care of Steve Rude, the Dude, with my blessing. Now, how much time have we taken up here, Mr. Producer? How much time do we have left, or did we go way over time already?
We are about 55 minutes in.
How do you like, you see what I'm talking about? You're just having too much darn fun, and you just don't want to stop. We knew this woman would go over. It's a little overworked, I think. Well, I definitely think it's overworked, but it gives you an idea of how I work here with this style. This style is always in progress. Let it be known throughout the land immediately at this point in time that everything you do as an artist is in progress. Everything you're learning is a part of the progression of hopefully getting better. So this was done with pen and ink. The hair, I approve of the hair. It's all done very loosely. If I did it again, the same piece, it would turn out differently. I might try to lighten up some of the values a little bit. Then again, I might look at it tomorrow and the next morning test and say, bravo, you pulled it off, Steve. I'm just not saying that now. So there you go. This has been a very enriching and enlightening thing. The last thing I'll leave you with is some pages of original art. These are actually Xeroxes from the great Jack Kirby. And when you call him great, you need to be on the ground watching the actual earth itself shake in his presence. I got these from Jack himself. If I told you what the poor man offered to sell these for, you would gag based on prices of today. That was Coletta inking, Vince Coletta inking, which I happen to like a lot actually, if he doesn't cut corners and makes his eyes straight. This is a Mike Royer inked page of Mr. Miracle. They came out in 1972, which was a very good year. Royer's control of his tools, his pens and his brushes, is of an expertise that I don't think I've ever seen. I mean, I think he's literally the most controlled line inker that I've ever seen. He is absolutely spectacular. He also inked Kirby line for line, which I was kind of so-so about. He didn't make any attempt to correct or improve or anything like that. Traditionally, inkers have done a little bit to, kind of tighten up drawings that don't really have it all together in the pencils. That's actually part of what an inker's job is often, when you're given very loose pencils. But Royer got the tightest pencils on earth from Jack Kirby, and he also lettered it, which he claims he could do overnight or in one day. Letter all this. I can letter 2 pages a day. How does that compare? What else is behind this thing right here? Oh, that's the next page. This is too much stuff here in the world. I'm simply being overwhelmed. I'll have to call 911. Here's another Jack Kirby page from Mr. Miracle again. Royer's line control is second to zero. It is beyond belief. I've had a few problems with it in the past that reflect my personality of how it should be done. What I would want is little refinements in some of the stuff that Jack has put down is a chicken scratch with a pencil. But Royer would ink everything exactly the way he drew it. This little dot right here, Kirby drew the dot in, so Royer inked it like that. Everything you see back here is what Jack penciled. There is none, if any, embellishments from the Royer side of things as an inker. But he was an incredible professional. He never missed a deadline. So this is an actual page that I own right here. Very dynamic. Here we go back to Vince Coletta, Vince the Prince, as his detractors call him. Now this page went for very little right here. I'm sure you can see why, but the dude being an artist, I didn't care one whit if the main characters were in there like a lot of people do. Now this was stuff to study, the textures, the look of his work based on him being him, and the tools that he used. So you kind of can't help but look like you when you're doing this work right here, because there's only one you. If there's another you, let me know, and I'll introduce him on the show. More Kirby stuff. To him, this is a throwaway story that he actually made very exciting. Pencil art. This is a rough that Kirby did, which he never really did, unless he was asked by people to do it anyway. This is a pencil drawing that I actually finished with ink. I think it turned out pretty good. You can find, oh, speckle spit. You can find that book. Here, I'm going to go find it, okay? I'm not going to tell you to find it. I wouldn't tell you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. So I shall be right back, and I will show you the actual cover, the way it turned out. So from this, which I would never ink over the original, never. I went to this right here. This is all colored up, obviously. So you can see the little touches I put in that are unique to me. And that is the wonderful thing about the diversity of people in the business that do their various jobs. Kirby always did a good job, but in this case, when an inker takes over and makes it reproducible, which is the whole reason inkers were around in the first place, and to keep things moving down the pipeline, then you would get other people inking his work. Kirby was called ink-proof for a reason. His work was so dynamic, you could ink it with a broom and it would still look good. So you can see the difference there. A lot of brush work in here, a lot of brush work. So there's that. Oh, here's another. I'm not sure where this came from here, but I did this drawing of Superman and Jimmy Olsen, the bow tie guy. This was painted in watercolor. This was fun. This is kind of pseudo Kirby looking thing that I adapted for the figures. Because when I do Kirby, if I'm working with Kirby, it's got to look like Kirby. Imagine that. Couple more things. What's a really good one here? Oh, here's a really good one here. This is Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. Everyone loved Big Barda because she was big and she was stacked. Two combinations you just can't beat. This is the Guardian oh no, that's a different page right there. I'm looking at from the other view right here. This is one of my most valued pages right here. Another Coletta inked page. The Guardian jumping down from great heights in the city. And you see nowadays how people do this very thing. They do this rooftop stuff, where they climb up anything and everything, and they can get up to the very top of a building with this the grace of their gymnastic motions and stealth. So it's just incredible what this guy did. He turned out 3 to 5 pages a day. He never missed a deadline. There is no one today that can actually claim they can make deadlines, but a few select people. I am not one of them. But I love working hard in this stuff. To me, this is my, as I always call it, my lifeblood. I just love this world that, you've got to be a certain kind of person to pull this off. You've got to be, if you're someone who is so social, you cannot wait to get out to party and stuff. Well, I've already gone through those phases, and now I'm content to just focus on the work. And focusing on the work for me right now is such a blessing. It's just the greatest thing. Well, if you guys are satisfied with the things, how things went today, this old lady's going to the bingo hall as soon as we're going to wrap this up. And the homework assignment for next week is, I have no idea what it is, but I will be informing you shortly when I find out myself. So if you enjoyed all this stuff and you thought it was worthy of your time, and you might have saw your IQ maybe bump up a few points. If you have the IQ device, you'll see that on the meter itself moving up. Then you will know that everything that you guys send in is wholly appreciated in a holy kind of a way. You guys support us. We're so, how do I say this without sounding kind of silly? You guys sacrifice for us. And whenever somebody does that, that means you are especially money-wise, because money talks and nothing else. Everything else doesn't walk. Money tells me that you guys are very serious about supporting the efforts that I put on here with my comic book art, my illustrations, and everything that I do. If you like an artist, like say I like Kirby, I would collect everything that he ever did. And that's supporting the man's work by buying what he does. So I'm very grateful. How could you not be? It's just, it's nice to have people that genuinely care, because they're not giving you just your good wishes and goodwill. They're giving you money for it. The money adds up, and then we stay financially stable, of which we have been very difficultly attempting to do that for years and years and years. So until I get rich, maybe off my cartoon show, that I won't have to engage in these things, and we can just talk as fan to fan and friend to friend, and I'll just do my demos anyway, and we won't have to escrow any more money. So that's going to wrap it up for today. I will leave you with these two staring eyes at the bottom to make you feel know that you are being watched and cared about deeply. Back to my water. We are in the desert. We'll see you next time. Steve Rude signing out. Bye-bye.